Hi. Well, after the huge turnout of people at yesterday's presentation of my two new books, What's the Idiom For and As Easy as ABC with Perugia Publications, um, I thought it would be great to shoot a video for those who weren't able to attend these presentations, or those who would like to take a closer look at the main topics dealt with at these meetings. Two issues germane to our discussion is idiomaticity and fluency, and how these relate. But before we analyse this, I would like to say a few things about the books and the rationale behind these books. What made me decide to write them. So, first of all, I would like to present them, so to speak. First of all, what's the idiom for? For those who haven't got hold of it, it's an ideal reference medium for candidates wishing to sit any kind of exam, whether it be KPG, the Greek State exam, MSU, CPE, CAE, ECC, ECP, or whatever. So it's an ideal reference medium for students who would like to hone their translation skills as well. It provides a wide and thorough coverage of over 700 idioms in use, containing short texts contextualizing various idioms according to the topic dealt with: education, fast cars, gossip, feelings, and so on. A wide variety of exercises helping students practice and consolidate the idioms presented in each unit. Listening activities, there's a CD whereby the focus is on idiomatic phrases. Translation, mediation activities whereby students have the opportunity to translate sentences or short texts from Greek into English and vice versa, paying particular attention to idiomatic phrases, and of course a key to the exercises. Pertaining to As Easy as ABC, the green book, it provides a wide and thorough coverage of thousands of vocabulary items in use in a linear way from A to Z, hence the title As Easy as ABC. It presents the requisite vocabulary at an advanced level, C1, C2+, in a wide array of exercises: gap filling, spot the mistake, find the odd one out, did you know, is it true or false, derivatives, collocations, choose the correct item, sections, and many more. As Easy as ABC features a glossary which furnishes innumerable synonyms, that's helping learners consolidate and expand their vocabulary. There's a key at the back of the book which makes it a self-standing reference tool. Now it's time to sort of say a few things about the rationale, as I said earlier. There's a gap in the ELT field in as much as idioms are not covered thoroughly. There is an extensive bibliography, but for various reasons, probably lack of time in the classroom, teachers do not have time to tackle idioms, or would be better off without them, due to lack of practice. I mean, that could be another reason. So the end result is that idioms are not treated as thoroughly and effectively as they should. The use of idioms is a marker of fluency. Native speakers cannot but use idioms all the time. Of course, whether this makes them intelligible or not, that's a different thing. But no one can deny that a proficient user of the language is supposed to have mastered a wide array of idiomatic expressions. Knowledge of L1 and L2 correspondences, in this case Greek counterparts, and let me show you an example. For example, in this unit on this page, we see Greek counterparts, the correspondences between English and Greek. So knowing L1 and L2 correspondences helps develop translation skills and helps retrieve whole chunks from memory because it makes learning meaningful. Vocabulary, no matter how advanced, is not enough. There has to be a general a real language use framework in order for vocabulary to flourish. We cannot remember isolated words unless they are contextualized, unless they're embedded in a kind of context. Translators, on the other hand, or translators to be, need a practical exercise book to get the hang of this problematic area and find their bearings, so to speak. As far as these two books are concerned, What's the Idiom For and As Easy as ABC, they help enhance productive and receptive skills. In conjunction with advanced vocabulary, the use of idioms leads to proficiency. The use of idiomatic expressions is inextricably linked and related to the culture of the L2 community. Therefore, the use of idioms is a marker of sociocultural competence. Knowledge of advanced vocabulary alone is a marker of linguistic competence, but communication has many more constituents, as you all know: pragmatic, sociocultural competence, and so on. As far as easy as ABC is concerned, here advanced vocabulary is presented in a linear way, so items can be found quickly and easily from A to Z. There's a wide range of exercises corresponding to various exam formats, as I said, and this aims to elucidate function, use and meaning of each lexical item. Meaning is illustrated while the tolerance for ambiguity principle is also adhered to. This means that meaning is disambiguated, but there are or should be nuances, in other words, shades of meaning left opaque, meaning ambiguous. Opacity is inherent in natural speech, so I believe that there should be a margin for opacity in the examples provided, as you will see for yourselves. The spot the mistake section in the Green Book, in As Easy as ABC, helps retrieve from memory the right counterpart of each item. The Did You Know section draws our attention to less known or more problematic areas of English lexis. The odd one out helps categorize lexis semantically. Items in the same semantic field are memorized and retrieved more easily. The same holds for the collocation section, as whole chunks of discourse are learned with facility and ease. Besides, the polysemy of the English language is illustrated. One word could have multiple meanings. The glossary provides a wide array of synonyms for each item found in the book, and this, of course, helps enrich vocabulary. I hope that both books foster learner autonomy, as they're self-standing reference books featuring a key which students can easily have recourse to, thus evaluating or assessing themselves. So that was briefly the rationale behind these two books, underpinning my decision to write these books. Now let's hark back to Idiomaticity and Fluency, which of course is the main, the core of my my theoretical discussion and speech that probably some of you have been able to attend and some others probably couldn't. So now you will have the chance to sort of pore over these issues and probably give your feedback as well, which I certainly need. So idiomaticity, fluency and other considerations. This is the title of the presentation. What is fluency? Fluency is the ability to link units of speech together with ease or facility and without strain or undue hesitation. According to Farag, Haustrup and Philipson, fluency is speakers' ability to make use of whatever linguistic or pragmatic competence they have. There are three types of fluency: semantic fluency, lexical syntactic fluency and articulatory fluency. You can have a look at the file online on YouTube called Idiomaticity, Fluency and Other Considerations. So I will have to sort of gloss over some points of the discussion. Semantic fluency means linking together propositions and speech acts, which is also known as coherence. Lexical syntactic fluency, which means linking together syntactic constituents and words, and articulatory fluency, which is linking together speech segments. In the ELT, according to Brumfitt, fluency is natural language use as close as possible to competent native speakers' performance. If we sift through the literature, we can see that fluency is the language used as a means to an end, the accent being on the meaning rather than the form, according to Crash and Ellis and others. The content is determined by the fluent speaker. There's a negotiation of meaning between fluent interlocutors who no longer rely on teacher or textbook prompts. There is a whole lot of improvisation and paraphrasing. There is phonemic awareness and decoding text. There's decoding cognitive and metacognitive strategies employed. Accuracy, grammatical and syntactic correctness. Appropriacy, precision, selection of the most fitting words, expressions. Of course, the context, the communicative purpose, and others. Fluency is related to speed of articulation, among other things. And of course, fluency is compromised, undermined, in other words, when there are frequent pauses, repetition, self-repairs, use of inappropriate expressions, ambiguous meaning. The above is compensated for by using fillers, such as you see, you know, basically, and so forth, or by paraphrasing when it's difficult to come up with a felicitous phrase such as make better instead of improve. There are both verbal and non-verbal markers of fluency, featuring in competent native and non-native speakers. These are accuracy, idiomaticity, intonation, accent, pragmatic features, lexical diversity, advanced sentence structure, advanced register. Non-verbal markers of fluency are gestures, facial expressions, body language in general. So we could say that the use of idioms attests to fluency. It is a marker of fluency. Fernando defines idiom as a form of expression, grammatical construction, phrase, peculiar to language, a peculiarity of phraseology approved or sanctioned by the usage of the language and often having a significance other than its grammatical or logical one. The use of idiomatic expressions makes for a more compact style, brief and concise, which enhances fluency. According to Louise Rosenblatt, there is a distinction between afferent reading, reading to obtain information, and aesthetic reading, reading for the sake of reading. The use of idioms makes for aesthetic reading. So we learn idioms or teach idioms to enhance reading ability, reading competency for the sake of reading, for the beauty of reading, not only with the aim of obtaining information. If we study two texts, actually it's the same text, but one is with no idioms or idiomatic expressions and the other is full of idiomatic expressions. This piece of writing is adapted from my first book, What's the Idiom For? So I'm going to quickly, just read it quickly. Diets are both good and bad. On the one hand, you may build the body you've always dreamt of. On the other, you may become very skinny. Many people, however, believe that it's better to be thin than have extra pounds. I exercise frequently. I'm quite fit. I used to eat all day, ending up a person who wouldn't stir from the sofa. At some point, I decided to take charge of my life and change the way I lived. You should have seen me when I started losing weight. I was so happy. Within the first month, I lost 5 kilos. Losing weight was very easy. The bad thing is it was costly. Anyway, I'm full of energy and I feel the happiest person in the world. Wow. So, now, I want you to draw the parallels, draw comparisons between the two versions of the same text. Diets are a blessing in disguise. On the one hand, you may build the body you've always dreamed of. On the other, you may become a bag of bones. Many people, however, believe that it's better to be thin than have extra pounds. I exercise frequently. I'm in good shape. I used to eat all day, ending up a couch potato. At some point, I decided to take the bull by the horns and change the way I lived. You should have seen me when I started losing weight. I walked on air. Within the first month, I lost 5 kilos. Losing weight was a piece of cake. The bad thing is, it cost me a bomb. Anyway, I'm full of beans and I feel on the crest of a wave. So you see how flowery, how vivid all these images conjured up are in the second version of the text. In other words, you can get your message across without using idioms, but idiomaticity lends a native-like hue, while it renders speech brief and concise. Knowledge of idioms improves learners' ability to read in the target language and understand colloquial conversation, which is something that we shouldn't lose sight of when teaching idioms. Types and functions of idioms. Of course, idiomatic expressions is a thorny area. Idioms can be transparent or opaque. For example, be under pressure or as poor as a church mouse. These are transparent. In other words, they're easily understood. But face the music or have a soft spot or kick the bucket, are difficult to understand. They're opaque. Idioms are only a part of non-literal use of language. Idioms are more or less prefabricated chunks available to speakers in their attempt to produce speech. According to Bollinger, language does not expect us to build everything starting with lumber nails and blueprints, but provides us with an incredibly large number of prefabs. There are certain difficulties in teaching idioms and idiomatic expressions. These revolve around recognition or comprehension and production. Students cannot recognize the meaning of verbs, nouns, or adjectives in idiomatic chunks. For example, does toe in toe the line, which means obey the rules, or what others tell you, have a fingery sort of meaning? Students cannot produce the whole chunk, leaving out some particles. For example, I have butterflies instead of I have butterflies in my stomach, which means I'm nervous. Or he popped yesterday instead of he popped a question yesterday. A holy cow instead of a sacred cow, which means an idea or custom believed to be holy or sacred. In such cases, mother tongue interferences reign supreme. Due to time restraints, or because some teachers are not familiar with many idiomatic expressions, idioms are not treated in L2 as often or as adequately as they should. Limited vocabulary range impedes understanding of idioms and figurative speech. So as we go up the ladder of linguistic competency, we learn not only the denotative meaning of words, but also their connotative meaning. For instance, familiarity with a wide range of vocabulary and the so-called polysemy of the English language is bound to help recognize and fathom idiomatic expressions. Research shows that idioms are processed more quickly than other structures of discourse. Prefabricated phrases are more easily stored and retrieved. In other words, a couch potato can be memorized and retrieved more easily than a person who sits in the sofa all day watching TV. Factors facilitating comprehension of idioms are familiarity, transparency, and context. Of course, many a time, illustration of idiomatic expressions lacks transparency and context. How we can teach and treat idioms or idiomatic expressions. According to McCarthy and Odell, idioms can be categorized in terms of the following features: rural life, transport, for example, strike while the iron is hot, put somebody through the mill, it like a horse, and many others. Science and technology, for example, she has a short fuse, we're on the same wavelength. Entertainment and games, have a good innings, dice with death, behind the scenes, play the second fiddle. Literature and history, for instance, sour grapes, the goose that laid the golden eggs, the streets are paved with gold. The Bible, Shakespeare's works, the salt of the earth, fall by the wayside, your pound of flesh. Parts of the body, for example, use your head. I have no head for numbers. The idea never entered my head. She broke his heart. He opened his heart. Feelings and emotions, for example, giving a black look, lose your bearings, in seventh heaven. According to Stuthy, idioms also have the characteristics below: adjectives as nouns, all of a sudden, through thick and thin; verbs as nouns, the do's and don'ts on the make; conjunctions and prepositions as nouns, for example, ifs and buts, on the up and up, the ins and outs; uncountable nouns that seem to be countable, for example, the living daylights in all weathers. According to Gaines and Redman, we should teach useful idioms that can blend with the student's productive vocabulary. We should begin with parts of the body idioms, for example, lose your head, then to general life situation idioms, light at the end of the tunnel, or business idioms, start the ball rolling. Another approach is to compare idioms in the target language with idioms in the mother tongue. This can be both an interesting exercise in itself and a means of remembering idioms more effectively. Learning idioms provides learners with a good opportunity to acquire information about a language's culture. So coupled with cultural information, idioms can establish a firm grounding not only in the foreign language, but also in its history and culture. We should encourage our students to speak more, chatting with native speakers or highly competent non-native speakers immersed in real language and its culture. We should embed idioms in meaningful contexts, such as stories or real-life situations. Idioms should be fully integrated into the 4 skills. We must help students stylistically distinguish idioms into formal, informal, neutral varieties, and so on. Nation suggests that idioms need to be dealt with as if they were words. They should be given attention on the basis of their frequency and range of occurrence. Learning idioms should be gradual and incremental. We should start considering idioms way before FCE level. Now we can say a few things about the importance of vocabulary. Vocabulary can be defined as the words of a language, including single items and phrases or chunks of several words that convey a particular meaning, the way individual words do. Vocabulary addresses single lexical items, words with specific meanings, but it also includes lexical phrases or chunks. Vocabulary teaching should be part of the syllabus. It should be a mainstay of the syllabus and taught on a well-planned and regular basis. Some authors, such as Lewis, argue that vocabulary should be at the centre of language teaching because language consists of grammaticalized lexemes, not lexicalized grammar. Vocabulary plays an important role as a predictor of overall reading ability. Having a keen vocabulary knowledge is a key element to better reading comprehension. Wilkins, back in 1972, notes that, while without grammar very little can be conveyed, without vocabulary nothing can be conveyed. There are several aspects of lexes that need to be taken into account when teaching vocabulary. The list I'm going to mention is based on the work of Gaines and Redman. There should be boundaries between conceptual meaning, knowing not only what lexis refers to, but also where the boundaries are that separate it from words of related meaning. For example, cup, mug, bowl. Polysemy, distinguishing between the various meanings of a single word, form, with several but closely related meanings. Head, of a person, of a pin, of an organisation. Homonymy, distinguishing between the various meanings of a single word form, which has several meanings that are not closely related. For example, a file, the tool, or used to put papers in. Homophony, understanding words that have the same pronunciation but different spellings and meanings. Flower, flower. Synonymy, distinguishing between the different shades of meaning that synonymous words have: extend, increase, expand, wide, broad. Affective meaning, distinguishing between the attitudinal and emotional factors, denotation and connotation, which depend on the speaker's attitude or the situation. Sociocultural associations of lexical items is another important factor. Style, register, dialect, being able to distinguish between different levels of formality, the effect of different contexts and topics, as well as differences in geographical variation. Translation, awareness of certain differences and similarities between the native and the foreign language. Chunks of language, multi-word verbs, idioms, strong and weak collocations, lexical phrases. Grammar vocabulary, learning the rules that enable students to build up different forms of the word or even different words from that word. Sleep, slept, sleeping, able, unable, disability, and all these derivatives. In other words, morphology, derivation. Pronunciation, ability to recognize and reproduce items in speech. Pertaining to memory and storage, Retention in short-term memory is not effective if the number of chunks of information exceeds 7. Therefore, we should not aim at teaching more than this number. However, a long-term memory can hold any amount of information. Mental lexicon is highly organized and efficient, and semantically related items are stored together. Word frequency is a facilitating factor. The more often we come across a word or phrase, the more easily it is retained. Grouping items of vocabulary in semantic fields such as topics, types of fruit, machinery, colour, idioms, emotions is facilitating. Oxford, back in 1990, suggests memory strategies to aid learning, and these can be divided into creating mental linkages, grouping, associating, placing new words into context, applying images and sounds, using imagery, semantic mapping, using keywords and representing sounds in memory, reviewing well in a structured way, employing action, physical response or sensation using mechanical techniques. How to teach vocabulary and advanced vocabulary in this case. In order to successfully teach a word, there's a set of principles which need to be adhered to. There isn't a one-to-one relationship between L1 and L2 words, obviously, and the processes of learning an L1 and an L2 are different because of age, cognitive maturity, the way a society categorises the real world, and so on. In an article entitled Teaching Vocabulary, Nation presents 3 stages that need to be considered when teaching a particular lexical item. Stage 1 involves giving the meaning quickly by using an L1 translation, using a known L2 synonym or a simple definition in the L2, showing an object or a picture, giving a quick demonstration, drawing a simple picture or diagram, breaking the word into parts and giving the meaning of the parts and the whole word, the word part strategy, giving several example sentences with the word in context to show the meaning, commenting on the underlying meaning of the word and other reference. Stage 2 involves drawing attention to the form of the word by showing in what way the spelling of the word is similar to the spelling of known words, giving the stress pattern of the word and its pronunciation, showing the prefix, stem and suffix that make up the word, getting the learners to repeat the pronunciation of the word, and writing the word on the board and pointing out any spelling irregularity in the word. Stage 3 includes paying attention to the use of the word by quickly showing the grammatical pattern the word fits into, countable, uncountable, transitive and intransitive, giving a few similar collocates, for example the verb lend and the noun property for the word mortgage, mentioning any restrictions on the use of the word, formal, colloquial, impolite, only used in the United States, only used with children, old-fashioned, technical, infrequent, giving a well-known opposite or a well-known word describing the group or lexical set it fits into. So that's all for now. Thanks for your time. I hope to see you soon in one of the meetings to be held by Perugia Publications. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.